Hi, welcome to Sky Notes. In this episode, we'll talk about the astrology for the week of July 19th to the 25th. Lillian and I will talk about what to expect as Leo season opens and Mercury changes direction. So join us while we check our Sky Notes. Hi, Lillian. How are you?
Hey, Tracy. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Well, first of all, welcome to Sky Notes. And we are talking about the week of July 19th to the 25th is what we're talking about.
The fourth week in July.
The fourth week in July. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming off of an interesting week. So It would be interesting. I would really like people to share what last week was like for them.
And if you're curious, you can go back to last week's episode and take a look, especially at maybe the last 10 minutes, and you'll see what we're talking about. So
for sure. And, I'm going to say that from my personal opinion, one of the most interesting configurations is happening this week. But I'm not going to start there because we should probably start with what's happening on Sunday.
I'm curious. Yeah.
So one of the things that struck me, you said it outright when we were going over our notes, that there's a lot of sextiles this week.
Yes.
So the thing that interests me about that is often we let those pass us by without doing anything with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with everything that's going on, I just want to start off at the top of the episode saying, don't let the opportunities pass you by if you have an opportunity this week, because there's some juicy astrology. But it's easy to say, meh, I'm going to go do something that's more interesting in this moment. So especially with some of the moon stuff that's going on intermittently throughout. So
yeah, I love how Stephen Forrest would talk about sextiles. I think I'm remembering this correctly from his books, early books, that you can take for granted the skills you have. It's, oh, yes, I can do this, but that's not that important. And so in that way, you might overlook the opportunities, like you're saying. And so it behooves you to go ahead and take them this time.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting in a natal chart when you see sextiles that aren't being activated by something else, right? They often, I've had conversations with people who they've never even considered the talent that might have for them.
That's right.
I've had people who don't enjoy that thing, and yet they're extremely talented at it.
I like that.
And so it can be latent gifts. It can be gifts that we don't really feel a connection to. But by transit, they can just be pleasant and we do nothing with them. So, they're interesting for sure. So we start the week with one. We have Mars sextile Saturn right off the top, right? And so that will have built sort of over the weekend. Yeah, so that puts Mars in Gemini, sextile Saturn in Aries. So that, that's an opportunity to put our actions to good work that's going to have some longevity to it with the Saturn there, right?
I like that. I see yard work. I see a hike. I see something challenging. I see, we've talked about July through these episodes. July feels like this explosion of energy we can't avoid. And then you get a good outcome if you've metabolized it. You may get a good outcome regardless, but this feels like just another sign that we want to metabolize what we've got. And there's resources for that are grounded. Like I would argue Saturn's grounded even in Aries. I would argue
I get what you're saying.
The relationship between Saturn and Mars is significant. And so you're kind of bringing your biggest motors to bear, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. I like that. You know what came to mind for a way to combine that energy? Because Mars in Gemini it tends to want to be mentally in motion, but it also needs to engage the physicality of that. With Mars sextile Saturn, it likely could be an opportunity to walk through the steps of a thing that you're doing.
I like that.
So let's do the walkthrough, right? Let's see where we need to tweak this.
I'm getting the vibe of a science experiment, right? You put up like a whiteboard and a piece of paper that's big. And so you just literally are like step 1, step 2, step 3, so that you've got the mental stuff, but it's coming in through your physical self too.
Yeah. Or even like I think about the process of when you're like so the book that I wrote, because it's a technique,
Yes.
it needs to be walked through,
Yes,
right? And so
perfect.
the process of actually going through all those steps, or if you're planning an event, and this is where you need a Virgo something involved in planning an event, because it's the walkthrough
Yes.
of, okay, so they're going to walk in the door. Where are they putting their coats? Where are they doing this? Right. So that's that very Mars and Saturn sextile energy. That is the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, that's really well said.
Thank you. And then we move straight into, we should mention we're in the crescent phase of the moon,
Yes.
which means that weird new moon that we had last week, we can kind of see if anything took ground,
Through.
right?
Yeah. And then there'll still be, because in the crescent phase, you are observing what needs protection. These are plants that are being grown under lights. They're not outside yet. You know, you might want to, what they call it, harden them off and put them outside in the pleasant weather, and then bring them back inside, and then repeat that till you can leave them outside. But that's the metaphor. And so you're not getting a full-blown gift. You're getting the sign that something germinated and there's life there for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's almost a suspended moment of, because everything's still so fragile at that point, right? It's the suspended moment of, okay, what's going to survive this, right? So, and the Mars and Saturn sextile is speaks to that, right? You do the walkthrough. What do we have to get rid of? What's not going to work? You know?
I love that.
Yeah, I like that. Mm-hmm. And then, so the 20th, when we move into Monday, we have this beautiful thing that's been building for a while with Jupiter in Leo, which is trine the Neptune in Aries. And then Jupiter is opposing the Pluto. So we've already talked about the Jupiter opposing Pluto piece of that
in the previous last week. Episode.
Yeah. But now bringing in that beautiful trine with Neptune, like the power and potential of that lineup to birth something maybe even too big to handle.
Sure.
Right? Like with the energy of the Neptune and the Pluto.
I love what you're saying. I love that, because and like, think of the Mars sextile Saturn as the guidance for the week, right? That's intense energy, and it's constrictive. It's not permissive, right? Even though Saturn's in Aries, even though Mars is in Gemini, that function is a pretty serious function. And going into that big release of energy, I just keep getting the vibe of like this whole month with its off cadence and its stop and start is designed to slow us down, so that as we process, we can stay within a healthy range of process. And part of what stimulated that is what you said about almost too much. And so we, in fact, should not take on too much. There are plenty of methodologies that kind of smash everything together, and people sometimes don't come out of those in a good condition. So what I'm seeing is this little chunks of operation and vision and information that you can work on later. And then you can practice this whole time. You can do the rest of your stuff. You can enjoy yourself. You know, you can have every weekend is like, go party, go enjoy your friends, go do something fun, you know, but the start and stop, I think, is protective. And in this case, I feel like the Saturn and Mars is like intense enough to kind of give you a sense of like, oh, wow, I don't want to mess around with this energy.
Well, and the timing is interesting too, because we have it's bookended by the sextile with Mars and Saturn. And then exactly a week later, Saturn goes retrograde.
Yes.
So that, you know, reflection of what can you actually handle. Right. So it's almost like you get this wild inspiration on the 20th. And then the reality kicks in when Saturn officially goes retrograde. So, you know, write it down, just, you know, put the big picture down. And then once the reality hits, you can see how much of it can realistically be brought to life, is kind of the way that energy reads to me.
Satisfyingly, And with a system you can build, it'll back it up if it needs maintenance. So it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's a worth it process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And also the sun is going to come and trine Saturn.
Yes.
Right. So that'll be another, not this week, but as it's moving through Leo.
Yeah.
So along the way for the next month,
yeah,
we're going to see, there'll be another reality check along the way. So, we want you to be so inspired and happy and excited on the 20th,
yeah.
but just again, keep your feet on the ground, stay centered and grounded. And it's like the biggest remedy for any of this is just that.
I agree. I love, what did you say in another episode? You said, are your sit bones underneath you? Are your heels on the ground? I mean, I would
I don't yoga regularly.
Sure.
Because I don't do anything. I'm not great at anything regularly, but the things of like learning to spread your toes and make sure they're all on the ground.
Yes.
And, when you're doing this stuff with your hands on the floor, same thing, all fingers on the floor. That was huge learning for me.
Yes, me too. Me too.
Very airy. And
I'm really going through it right now with piano. And I'm also experiencing joint pain that feels like the beginnings of arthritis. And so I'm doing this liniment every day, just like the foot thing every day that I've described before. And it really hurts when I put the liniment on, but then the pain really goes away for the rest of the day. And so I thought, I'll go play piano. But the teacher I have, because I'm still learning, really emphasizes the connection with the key and the longevity of the note and what it relates to in terms of the musicality of the rest of the phrases. And so I went in when my joints were in pain, bam, 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 bam on the piano. And I was like, oh, I can't be sensitive at all right now. I'm going to not do this right now. So it's interesting, right? Like too much energy can direct you somewhere else. But that's still a part of that. Later on, I came in and was able to do the yoga. And that's where I find the spread the fingers and feel the connection from the palm. And she has a whole set of body things for me to do because I just can't get enough of that.
Smart.
So, yeah.
Smart. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's anything that helps you get more aware is so helpful moving forward, right? Because you catch the warning signs of things so much earlier when you're paying attention, and I'm somebody, it took a very long time for me to start paying attention. So
same. I like to think of it as giving things room to breathe, because I found when I walked through my house, I could tell where there was stuck energy. There usually isn't any room to breathe.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so that we've got the beautiful thing on the 20th that leads into, then it Jupiter sextiles Uranus right the next day. Now, the interesting thing about that is we end up with the moon moving into Scorpio. So it's kind of neat because through all that more positive energy, the moon is in Libra. So there is likely to be an optimism and excitement and a wanting to share ideas, right? And collaborate and all of these things. And then you get one more spark of, like, to me, the Jupiter sextile Uranus in Gemini, Jupiter in Leo. God, the inspiration potential of that lineup is phenomenal. And then the moon goes into Scorpio. So now you're going to go in and you're going to bathe in all of the emotions that you need to bathe in to process it, So there's a component to this where it's like, nothing surface is allowed, right? So, right, if the thing isn't truly beneficial or of substance, it can't make it, right?
Yeah, it's sort of like there are tests right now that you can't avoid taking.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah,
and then that's a really good point. Say, to underscore that Venus vibe that we're feeling through the month, the moon's in Libra. And so here we had the prior week, all this pressure on Venus. And here we have her, running the show for emotional security. And she likes it aesthetic.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that's the benefit to having it Venus in Virgo while that moon is in Libra, because
I
there's going to
agree.
be less flights of fancy than if Venus was in a
Right.
different sign. Like if Venus was already in Leo
Yeah,
or
we'll
was
be
still in
red.
Leo.
We'll be ready for the moon in Libra. I like a moon in Libra myself. I like the vibe of
Sure.
it. Quite lovely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then that same day, so then we have it goes into Scorpio, but it goes void
I know.
in late afternoon, early evening, right? Um, and then Venus is quincunx Saturn. So to what we were just saying,
Right.
right away you're going to know what the problems are and where adjustments need to be. Like there's not much of a break. But we kind of skipped over the big one that day because the sun moves into its own sign that afternoon while the moon is in Scorpio.
The fixed vibes
And
are
so
plentiful.
yeah, absolutely. And the sun in Leo, what do you want to say about it?
Oh, I love a sun in Leo. It's the warm-hearted center of our being, and it's right for astrologers to say like, "Ooh, to be a Leo," so yummy. And I love Mal Frothingham's ideas about the offstage Leo who is regal and unavailable because of their status. And I love the onstage Leo when they're generous and coming from their heart and they're taking a risk and they receive fully the love of their audience. And then I find a lot of Leos are like doing something else and I don't know what it is. And I'm not quite sure how to help them out. And sometimes it's amazing. And a lot of times it is a lot.
Right. I always find, especially here in the Northern Hemisphere, one of the ideas that I like to look at for understanding Leo is the beach vibe of the summer,
Oh,
and how
yeah.
like look out at the season and look at how people are dressed, and
Yes.
for helpful or not helpful, right? There's definitely the Leo vibe of the beach and the wear and the outfits, and then there's the Leo that's over underneath the thing with the stuff on their nose and then making sure that they are preserved
Yes.
because they understand the consequences of
Yes.
if they're not. Yeah, so I do like that sort of imagery to sort of understand the variety of Leo energy there can be
Yes.
in the sun's sign, because they're very good friends. They love each
Yes.
other.
Yes.
And having the sun in its own sign in charge of Jupiter is going to be potent, very potent. It's going to be loud.
Yes. And I think here's some of the stuff. Wait, I'm so sorry. I think some of the stuff you're alluding to, we've hit before with the story of the emperor's new clothes. And we've talked about it as if that's your lover coming to you and they're stripping down to nothing and they're like, look at me, look at me, look at me. You look at them and you eat that up. Yum, yum, yum. Leave no crumbs. But if it is somebody who is in an elevated position and they are constantly look at me, 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 you tell them they're not wearing clothes. What is the other, like, sir, this is an Arby's or something? Like you redirect. It's not appropriate. So there's this interesting like internal processing versus your role, your exalted position, your honorifics, right? I imagine that scene where I think it was in The Crown, where they're telling Queen Elizabeth before she becomes the queen, she will either wear the architecture around her, the clothes on her, or those things will wear her. And she wants to be the thing wearing this magnificent architecture. And so you really kind of have to big up yourself and you want it to be for real and authentic. So it is a risky biscuit. So that's my long-winded answer.
When I was doing hair and I would talk to every person about their sun sign, that's how I gathered all the information. I would say, this is, of course, I don't have the numbers to prove it, but the most memorable moments of astrology is bullshit and I'm a fill in the blank sun sign, and I'm not like that at all, were Leos.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There were others. Pisces was another big one that
Yes.
didn't feel like they resonated, and Virgos. I'm
Yes.
going to say are the three, but the most vocal and adamant, of course, fixed sign, Sun and Leo. And so I would generally sort of like ease off on the conversation, of course, but I always said, I just want to ask you one question, and I don't need you to tell me what it is, but I just need a yes or no. Is there something in your life that you are fiercely proud of? I never once had somebody say no to that question. Not once. Even it didn't matter how much they wanted to say no to that question. They couldn't. And so that to me has always been the thing that ties Leos together.
I love
is that,
that.
that burning pride that they all have for something, and that they'll protect to their death,
Yeah.
And that's the thing about Leo that I wish we would tap into a little bit more. But it's fascinating to me, like on that sociological level, how usually it's the feminine that's very misrepresented.
Right.
But this is the opposite of that, where masculine has been elevated to such a high place that also nobody can live up to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, I tend to think of that as the dysfunctions apparent from all angles, but looks different.
Yeah, for sure. But we do love a Leo season, because that means the sun is in its own sign. There's a relaxed quality about that for some reason.
Yeah,
there's just something like comfortable about it. Yeah, so that's going to be a nice shift for sure. The fixity will be nice, because we have been lacking that over the month, right? So having the sun in a fixed sign is going to feel good. It's going to help feel more stable than we have been. And also, when we lack fixity, it's hard to get anything to have legs, right? Because it needs the fixed tenacity for things to go forward.
Yeah.
So I'm imagining that having a little bit more fixed energy, people are going to feel like they can get some traction that they haven't been able to get up until now.
I like that. And to touch into the pride notion, I really love that. Dopamine, what is it called? Dopamine dressing? Do you know what I'm talking about? Wearing stuff that makes you so happy, your favorite necklace that you save for a special occasion, put it on. Like when we talk about the pride with the Leo, you want to feed that good pride. So your favorite lotion, your favorite perfume, I'm obviously speaking from my own standpoint. Your favorite hike, your favorite gun. I don't really know what other folks like. So it could be anything, but I like what you said about connecting to that fierce pride. And I think it's allowing that to infuse a little more of your being that Leo is asking us to do, which is alluded to by you being a hairstylist and kind of pulling out their beauty and their looks. The stories that you were sharing about your hairstyling work, it's always such a revelation to me. I really hold hairstylists in high esteem, because it is a risk to decorate someone. And I have heard so many stories, because I know hairstylists, of people not appreciating what they got. But I've also heard so many stories from the hairstylists who I know where they have changed someone's life with a very simple change. That we want you to feel the pride that has an opportunity to have you feel, but have it come from inside. Give it to your cheeks, give it to your hair, give it to your clothes, that kind of thing. You get to be fancy.
I love, because one of the keywords for Leo is generosity, right? And because of, people know Leo signs that perhaps are not so generous or whatever, or they confuse being self-involved, thinking that can't be generous in any way. So people kind of get stuck in their ideas of the negative side of Leo. And then the other thing that I find really fascinating is that truly one of the fastest ways to get out of your own head and your own self-importance and self-sadness or whatever, right? You get stuck in your own whirlpool, is to go help somebody else. right?
Right.
And so that to me speaks to that Leo energy, that polarity of self and generosity.
That's
And
beautiful.
I think that's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah.
And then there's that quality bar. I mean, we talked about it as a joke around Leo's liking labels, right? But there's something to be said for that sense of, like when we talked about the Kazemi, and it's the heart of the sun. You can be burnt by the sun, but you can also experience the heart of it. And I think that that's the risk that Leo is asking us to take.
Right. Right. For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that is the risk, right? It's like, how close to the center can you actually get? And so when we think
Icarus.
Thank you. Yeah. The
His
Icarus
dad,
story.
Daedalus, helped him make the wax wings. Yeah.
Right. Right. Then he flew too close to the sun. And so there's that fine balance, right? What's too close and how hot can you get? So that happens on the 22nd while Venus is quincunx Saturn. So that's interesting. Leading into a full void of course. What did we figure out? 27 hours of void of course from Wednesday afternoon until Thursday evening. It's very long. Very long.
The longest one of the month. Yeah.
Yeah, by far. The longest one, I think it's probably the longest one we've seen so far, I believe. Yeah, that's a pretty long one where the moon's not making any aspects until it moves into Sagittarius, which then it makes all sorts of nice aspects because of so many things in fire and air, right? It'll be really busy for a minute.
It bodes well for the weekend. It sounds like a good time, but it's going to start around 9 p.m. ET, Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time. So it's a day of practice. I guess we've been saying, the void, of course, is a great time to practice.
Yeah.
Planning. I get it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, and the thing that's interesting about that, having void of course all day, it's also the day that Mercury stations direct.
That's
so
right.
There's kind of this pause moment, right? This pause moment on the 23rd of July. And at the same time, the sun is square Chiron. So there is sort of a moment of let's take a breath, let's examine, let's see what we need to clear away first before we start the party tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to party.
Just interrupted cadence again and again and again. Start, stop, start, stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And then Friday, we've got, Neptune is sextile Pluto, but the big one is Mercury sextile Venus. That'll be lovely.
Oh, yeah.
Mercury in Cancer is going to be sextile Venus in Virgo.
For Friday. Enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also, the moon's in Sag. And so that's nice because a sense of freedom, a sense of play, a sense of adventure. But there's a real practicality to that Venus in Virgo and that station Mercury. Like it's gone direct, but it's still not moving anywhere, right? So there's a refinement available in there.
I like that a lot. I like that because usually the Mercury is too fast to pin down. So I like that vibe. And I like the sense of just that Venus getting to play around. That's just kind of fun.
Yeah. It feels to me like surround yourself with your most special people. The people that you really want to spend time with that moon and Sag, right?
I don't want to limit it to, there are different ways people live, but like your aspirational characters, your favorites.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say with Venus and Virgo, you definitely want to be around people who you're comfortable with. Because that Venus and Virgo can get kind of, catty.
Formal.
There's a cattiness to Venus and Virgo.
You want people who are able to take criticism easily and go, pfft.
Well, in sextile Mercury, the opportunity for criticism will be high. And so the moon
will hear what you're doing wrong. Yes. It will not be tactful.
Right. Because the moon is in Sag and it has a lot of big opinions and has a hard time keeping them to themselves, right? So unraveling that whole weekend changed my mind just a little bit there. Definitely there's some room to piss some people off, if that's aspecting in a specific way, you know?
I don't know. I don't. Let's put the nostalgia filter on it for a second.
Okay.
Slap that little Mercury stationing into nostalgia, right? And then pair it with that Venus saying what I want specifically. You could get patterning interrupted that you didn't expect, that you thought would be with you forever, right? That's the vibe I get from South Node stuff. You thought it would be there. Maybe Venus is going to say it's not going to be there, right? As an internal process.
Right.
And you get that idea, but you were correct about all of the things in terms of how they function outside an internal process.
Yes, there's definitely
I guess I would say keep it moving. The Sagittarius moon says keep it moving.
That's right. That's right. Use your inside voice. If when in doubt, use your inside voice that's going to be my advice for that weekend for people for sure.
Yeah.
But definitely with that Sag moon, there's some fun. That's some fun energy. Absolutely. So, and we've got some huge shifts next month or next week. Yeah. There's big things happening next week. So
yeah.
Thanks everyone for watching and take care. Enjoy the sun in Leo and take the opportunities, but be realistic. That's my breakdown for the week. Excellent.
I second your breakdown. Awesome. Enjoy, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Lillian. See you soon.